Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront updates and some more post-July patch content. In this video I want to go over all the patch notes and talk a little bit about the important parts. I obviously haven't been able to test out every single change yet, since there's a lot of stuff on this list, but I've had a chance to try out some of the more important changes that I can talk about and show off in this video, so let's get straight into it. I'll skip over a few of the bug fixes and so on, but you can find the full list in the description below. They have improved the partner system to check the surroundings once every second instead of once every 2 seconds, which should make for a more accurate partner spawn system. And they've also done so that you can't spawn on a partner if an enemy is within 10 meters. I think this is a very good change because right now you can spawn in front of an enemy as long as your partner hasn't actually been hit yet, which doesn't really make sense, so now we will hopefully not experience that type of spawn killing anymore. Another change I'm glad to hear is that they've removed the thing where an assist counted as a kill. That didn't really make any sense either, but now it will just give you the score, which is good because score, XP and credits is something I think you deserve for an assist, but you don't deserve a full-on kill for it. They've also fixed the issue where all rebel items were usable on Bespin maps, something those of you in the lower levels might have experienced. The pre-round timer has been buffed up a bit to make sure that everyone has the time to join the game before it starts. Next up, there's tons of fixes to the Bespin maps, including out of bounds areas, power-up spawn locations, power-up cooldowns and a bunch of other things that I don't want to go into super detail here, but it's better if you read that yourself if you're interested. One important thing in this section though is that the hero pickups in Hero Hunt has been boosted from 20 to 50 health, meaning that you will be able to survive for a lot longer with the heroes now, especially with the Emperor. It feels like he's really going to be the go-to hero when you're playing Hero Hunt right now. There's also been a bunch of UI bug fixes, including the heroes' trait descriptions, various spelling issues, overlapping UI and so on. Same thing here, if you want to know every single bug fix, check out the link in the description. Next up we have the more important changes to the game, the buffs and nerfs to weapons and star cards. First off, they have changed the shock grenade slightly by decreasing the bounce speed multiplier and increased the explosion delay to prevent the grenade from detonating in air after a bounce. A bit hard to say if this is good or not, but I guess we will have to test it out. The Relby V10 has had a bunch of buffs by reducing weapon sway as well as recoil, and I gave the weapon a brief try and I felt like the damage was too low before, and it almost felt like it was higher now because I could actually kill people quite fast. It did feel a lot more stable like the patch notes suggested, but I'm not sure if they might have missed a damage buff in the notes or if I simply felt like it did more damage because I managed to hit more shots. Nevertheless, it is better now than it was before the patch. The X8 Night Sniper has also had its weapon sway reduced and also a quite significant damage boost, and this is something I did notice when trying it out, and now it actually feels like a viable weapon because it can 3-shot people at short range and 4-shot them at long range. Unless you headshot them and kill them faster, of course. So now that it can match up to other weapons, I feel like it's worth using it, thanks to the scope that really does help out on some of the maps. It just isn't that good on the Bespin maps. Moving on, the DT12 has had its fire rate increased a little bit. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but I thought it was pretty decent before the patch, so I think it's actually going to be quite good now as long as you can land the shots. The DL44 has been buffed a bit. Yeah, I know it says DLT14 in the patch notes, but it is the DL44 they are referring to. It has gotten an increased fire rate as well as higher end damage, which basically means that you will be able to do a bit more damage on longer ranges. I tried it out briefly, but since I haven't used it for such a long time, it was hard to tell the difference. The EE4 has been nerfed slightly. It will still be as effective as before on short range, but it will have a bigger spread, reduced end damage and quicker damage drop-off, which means that it won't be as effective on medium or long ranges. The Cloud Car has been slightly buffed. It still has the same health as before, but all blasters and the Ion Neutralizer will now do a lot less damage to it, meaning that you won't just be able to shoot them down with a few shots of your blaster. The Disruption Star card has now been slightly nerfed, as the penalty time for the overheat is reduced from 2 to 1 second and the cooldown is increased as well, so it's not going to be as annoying and spammy as before, which is a good change in my opinion. They've also made a couple of bug fixes to the scout binoculars. Lastly, we have all the hero changes. If we start off with Lando, he's received a quite significant buff actually. First off, if you fail to escape his shock trap, you will die instantly instead of taking 80% damage, and the damage dealt by the trap against heroes has been increased slightly as well. The power blast can now be cancelled just as the charge cards can, and on top of that they've added a homing effect to the power blast, just as with Han's lucky shot. As you can see here, I managed to hit a few shots from a very long range, something I never managed to do before the patch. They've also tweaked Power Blast's cooldown and active time a little bit as well. Moving on, his crit chance has been buffed quite a bit. From 2 to 5%, 5 to 10%, 10 to 20%, and finally from 25 to 50% on the last trait level. So now you will most likely be able to one-shot a lot more people, as the crit chance has been roughly doubled. His X8 Night Sniper also received a buff, and thanks to that you will now be able to 3-shot enemies at long range instead of 4-shotting them like before the patch. So just as with the standard X8 Night Sniper, Lando's version has been improved as well. All in all, he should be a lot more powerful now, and I think I might actually start picking him over 9nav now. Moving on to Dengar, his explosive rush ability will now only throw 3 grenades, so it won't be as powerful as before, but hopefully it will still be able to wipe out a room. The grenades will no longer immobilize enemies that gets hit by them either. His Hurricane Strike will now also kill enemies that are backed a bomb. His armor trait has been increased with roughly 10%, as well as his health, so he should be a little bit tankier now, but you're probably not gonna notice a huge difference. His close range damage has been buffed from 19 to 21, which is good as it means 1 less hit to kill. It does sound a little bit low though, so I'm not sure if those stats are correct, because I'm pretty sure I didn't need to hit 6 shots to kill someone prior to the patch. All soldiers will now die from lightsabers if they are backed a bomb, so no more annoying hit markers with Luke or Vader. They have also done quite a lot of work on Boba Fett's flamethrower, which should now be a lot easier to hit enemies with, and you will also be able to toggle it off if you want to switch back to your blaster earlier. Both Han Solo's and Leia's damage has been buffed a little bit on medium ranges, meaning that the damage they do at short range will now last up to 25 meters instead of 10 meters like before. Lastly, they have added a disruption immunity to heroes, meaning that if you get hit by a normal player's disruption, you won't be able to get disrupted again for 5 seconds, which is good to hear, as you now won't be spammed by 10 disruptions in a row and you will actually have a chance to shoot people in between them. Overall, this is another good patch that seems to tighten up all the weapons and heroes, making them all viable to pick, which is ultimately the goal. I'm glad that there's not 1 or 2 weapons or heroes that everyone picks, but they are now balanced enough to match up against each other. Anyways, that brings this video to an end. Stay tuned for a live stream a bit later today where I will try out the new Stinger pistol and play some skirmish. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.